Just quickly here, I'm going to start with gold. Gold was bought into the close in the 5 minutes. It wasn't bought really heavily. You can just see a little bit of a dip after a selling day. That selling day is pretty obvious here. I'll just have quickly show you. It's after a weekly roll, so the weekly roll was yesterday, but again we've had a big selling day, and here is what was appearing is we had quite a lot of hedging. Will that hedging make us go sideways? Not quite certain. I don't think it should. We still had a reasonable DPI. We did have a big dip in DPI. Oh, very slow data today. We did have a bit of a dip in DPI on the 26th, but it's back up to a level which is really right up there of continuation, and you can see this was rolled off on the last OPEX, and there's a lot of out of the money calls owned in gold at the moment. There's a lot of suggestion that's going to keep on going higher, especially with the fear of the government close down. I'll just move on to silver. So just looking at the silver SLV here, and we'll just have a look at the SI1. Oh, I've gone to the wrong one. Silver futures. So just looking at the silver futures, were they any different? Don't really think so. We've seen this pretty steady, just a flat top. Just it's a sideways movement. It's not really a selling movement. It's just a sideways movement. Yes, we have had a bit of price increase. That's probably more to do with the action that we're seeing in the Dixie, with the Dixie dropping a little bit. We see the hedging is probably a lot stronger here in silver than it was in gold. And if we go and have a look at the DPI, DPI is still very strong. It's not something that I would think was a real worry. But we have dropped into the heaviest place we've been in silver for a while. So I'm going to write silver up as I didn't do it yesterday, so I'm just going to write it up and screen capture a couple of those things. Interesting to note here with silver is that we didn't get any buy into the close yesterday, and it definitely gave us a drop. If you don't get a buy into the close, I mean, even this little buy into the close here gave us a bit of a lift on the day before. It's a very good, very tradable signal, the buy into the close, if you want to go long. It's not necessarily a tradable signal to get a bump down, but they're pretty strong signals. There's a lot of weight in the options. So just looking here at copper in the futures, if I just have a quick look in the... So we have seen some buying into the close with copper. Don't really know if that's a thing with copper. I just maybe think that's a bit of a positional change after a busy day. I tend to think that the futures are much stronger at telling us what's happening, and they're telling us that we had some buying in the morning and then we've had a flat day. You can see here that it's showing these buys much stronger, and we can see that we have been in a bit of a holding pattern now for a week, apart from this little bit of a buy coming in. So yes, we did see this buy that's jumped us up in price, and then we have seen some sideways action during the day. Just get that a little bit closer. I think that maybe that buy action's over. It looks pretty flat here. So I think the real sort of take maybe from today is that it is reasonably flat into the close. Don't know whether I'm going to see much more than that. So that's what I think about copper there. Let's have a look at copper in the... Not so clear. There's no hedging. It's just long positions. Hedging has just disappeared because there's just a perception that the price is going to go higher. We've had some really strong DPI, which mainly has been hedging, but we did have this long build that's led through, and the hedging really dropped off at the end of last month. We went from sort of 16s back down to 14, and then we've got that bump, and that really would have only been hedging itself. It's probably still a good play, the copper play. Playing it in the individual stocks is more difficult. So look, that's a very simple, it's still green and it's still long. I just thought I'd report on, I'm not going to look at the specific gold miners, but just as a general group, just having a look where we've been. So as you can see, we've had an incredible price increase, which has now come through to quite a sort of toppy price. We're up in one of these highs, which could send us flat unless we get some buying into the close. And if we go and have a look, we've actually had quite a strong day. It topped out a little bit like gold, and then has bought quite well into the close. So this, I expect, is the quarterly, just the roll and the selling and the selling and the repositioning, and this is the repositioning. So I think that I can pretty firmly say that it was bought into the close, and we might see some price increases. I'll just put that as in bought into the close. We can see that it's had a very strong period before that. We're in the 15 minutes, so we can see where that strength's come from. We had this one flat section, but really we've just had buying the whole way through. If we just have a look, we did have a selling day. We have had quite a strong selling day at 36 in the DPI. Little bit of new hedging, but really nothing. There's no strong individual hedging that I can see in there. There's nothing jumping out at me here. As it's rolled forward, we've had a bit of a rebalance. We have had a roll forward and a buy of quite a lot of new out of the money just for this month. We're in the 0.4, 0.3 sort of area for options, which is worthwhile looking at if you're on a monthly. It's a roll up, and we've also had some people buying some deep in the money. It's interesting that there was this. Interesting that we see this very strong selling, or what must be closing of a lot of longs, but we did see a month earlier, at the quarter, at the OPEX for the month, we did see a large amount of gamma taken off. It's pretty much stayed strong, so I'm going to just leave that as all green. So I just thought I'd have a quick look at a copper miner as well. And the copper miner I was going to look at. So if we just zoom in a little bit closer, we saw this this big drop off on the 23rd when there was a mining event, and that had caused some issues for one of the Freeport mines, not the Freeport mines, yes, one of the Freeport mines in West Papua in Indonesia. And we see that the pricing for losing about 3% of the turnover for the gold, for copper for the year has turned around. So we've had this, from this event, we've had this quite heavy selling. And if we go and have a look whether it really is going to make a difference, I just quickly will have a look through. So here was the hedging that happened from it. It's as though someone knew a long time before that we were going to have an event, and then we've had this event. And look, we've had a strong buyback, and it's taken us back into a reasonably good position. A lot of the hedging started to come off after about the 25th. Some of it's running through, don't quite know why. We can see that the gamma's gone back up. Interestingly, DPI has gone up. DPI is still quite low. It's at 29. We had Freeport mines going sideways for quite a period of time. Would I think it's a buy? I'm not certain. We can still see it's quite heavy here. We've still got a little bit of extra hedging here. We're still in the 40,000, where before the event we're only in the 4,000 in close. We have had a very strong buy though. We're back up to 35 odd thousand. People bought the bottom quite strongly there. Be interesting to see if it goes past the mean reversion. That will tell us whether we've got a mean reversion being 0.5. Tell us whether we've got a new trade on. Anyway, that's just the one copper stock that I wanted to look at quickly. Just thought I'd look at another copper stock just as a comparison. You know, this stock has, in the last 6 months, well actually if we say this year, has gone from about 40 to about 60, so it's gone up about 50%. And not even really hunting for copper at the moment in the world, apart from in China. If I have a look at the 15 minutes, we can see it's got this beautiful strength. I don't know whether really we can say it's buying into the close, but we can see it bought into the close there, started to buy into the close, bought into the close there. Any of these other ones really that are selling into the close, yeah, look, it probably plays out. The quick note thing that I note is that we have we've had very strong buying the whole way through here, just in the sense that even though we have had some selling, and there is quite a bit of selling there today, it's flattening in that market today, it's really very low. It's not, we're not up into a red area of selling. It's not particularly reactive. I haven't, let me just put it up on here. So COPEX is the international ETF for international gold mines, or world gold mines, rather than a specific one. So the ETF is showing it's very strong. If we go and have a look, we can see that DPI is still very high, and there isn't any hedging that we can see. If I just roll that through forward, so we're in the maybe we go to the 8th, just so we're out of the colour we can see that quite a lot of gamma did come off, but it has started to warm up again since that gamma's come off. So I think it's an interesting one to watch. I'm going to put it down. I don't know how actively traded it is, but I suppose we've got to watch something. So let's watch this one. Last of the commodities I'm going to do today, we'll start having a look and trying to put some gold and some uranium into our portfolios as well. Even though they've run really hard, they'll probably continue to run. I just thought that we'd pick up PAS or AG. I quite like AG. I think it's quite easy to read. So let's have a go at AG. So the first thing we can see is we've had quite a good day. It definitely hasn't bought into the close. I'm not going to say that it's bought into the close. It's a greener day after having quite a sort of a topping period. We've had a bit of a topping period through here, and then we've had I suppose it's a bit greener than that. But it's not bought into the close is the most important thing I can see there. Mainly a buying day, just didn't finish up. Didn't finish up in the red really. Didn't finish up in the green. Mainly it was a buying day, and I think that's worth noting. I don't think there's a lot else to say about it apart from those two things. Let's just have a quick look at what AG says in the back. So we're seeing here that there is a little bit more hedging, but we've had a strong buying day. So it's mixed. It's got a little bit heavier, but we've also had quite a lot of a reduction of out of the money, which is used as hedging. And so that's something worth noting. Let's just have a look here. Yeah, look, it's still strong. It's very green. Here we can see, coming into the quarter, we've had a real crash in DPI. So that makes me feel a little bit like copper, that maybe we're in a flattening period, and maybe we'll continue to flatten across this period here. And it hasn't really started to take off. We'll really have to see the action tomorrow. We didn't buy into the close today, so tomorrow might be a bit of a flatter day. We saw that a bit in gold as well today. Alright, just finishing this off, we see that quarterly, that's probably just the quarterly change, but that was very toppy. I just thought I'd throw in, I know I said a moment ago I wouldn't, I just thought I'd throw in a couple more commodities just so we can watch a larger range each week. I'm going to try and do commodities end of Tuesday every week. I'll do an update on them every day, but I'm not going to do a detailed update. So we can see here that we've got quite a lot of hedging in. I'm going to use Cameco. and we're still reasonably strong, but we've come off this top here. If we have a look at it, we can see we've come off this top from what was a really strong position, and we've lost a lot of that hedging. And then we've had a little bit of a build of hedging here, not a great deal. What we do notice though is that with the DPI has dropped back down into the 40s, lower than it was here, where we had the DPI which was running with the price action. Here it's running with the price action again, so it's flat. So nearly all of the DPI we're seeing is hedging at the moment. If we have a look at the stock itself, here in the 15 minutes, which I think is the best place to have a look, we did get a bit of a buy into the close. Is it big enough? I don't know. There definitely was a buy into the close there. It's definitely sideways action. It's not sold, but we can see that there has been little appetite. There's been a few little buys in Commodities, but not a great deal. In the bigger picture, we can see that it's run out a little bit, and it's been really going sideways price-wise. So the 70s, early 80s since July. There hasn't been any new information coming in about it. And here we can see that most of this is just reactive, just a slight change in the positioning. I will just go through and document that so we know where we are, at least with uranium for the moment. So just putting in to our commodities day today, I'm just going to add in oil. I can just see that we've had this selling and then sideways. We can see we started a big selling event there, and then we've been going sideways since. Today, let's just go in a little bit closer and have a look what today we saw. Did we see any buying into the close? We did see a little bit of buying during the day, but really I don't know how that's going to play out for the day. We'll have a look at USO and see what that said. I don't think there's anything extra that I can add to that. I think it's just more of there's a little bit of buying here, but it definitely didn't buy. It didn't buy into the close, so it was not bought into the close, even though it was an alright day. I think it was a reasonable buying day though. Let's just step that out to 30 minutes so we can see it a bit better. Let's just have a quick look at what it says. USO is how I follow it, and yes, look, different parts of the industry will move quite separately. We can see USO has had quite heavy positioning the last couple of days, being Monday and Tuesday. I don't know how heavily USO is traded. Let's have a look. Monday. So look, they've really picked it. They've gone Friday. So they've started hedging. Did they hedge out at the start of Monday? Yeah, they did, but they probably missed the top. We can see there's a tiny little increase there, but really into that drop as we've rolled into Monday, and it's that has just come off. I have no idea what that DPI is doing. And we can see we've got some heavy hedging that came in maybe a day or so early. Pretty hard to read. You can just see we've been in this sideways chop for a period of time. It's good to have a baseline even if it's chopped, so I'm just going to add these couple of details into our commodity section. Alright, just adding to our commodity day today, I just thought I would add Cocoa Phillips in. And we can see here that we got a sell into the close on Monday in the 5 minutes, and that really came out very loud. As we can see, we had this really good price drop. We've had a little bit of a buy into the open today, so a buy into the close today, so that suggests that maybe we're going to get a little bit of a bump up in the morning. We'll have a look. Let's have a look at the 15 minutes and see what it's saying. I know that's a very small one. It really did show us here in the 15 minutes that we were in for some trouble when we got up to that price, making it quite tradable. So it would tell you to hedge, and this is the reason you probably don't have to have too many positions, because you just can't get around all your positions in the last hour when the noise is coming in, to say that, oh, I've got to do this today or I've got to do that today. I wouldn't really cover more than sort of 5 positions, core positions at a time, and if you can trade around those 5 positions, and there's a little bit of volatility. It's really nice to get a long run, but the reality is volatility is what you're after. Doesn't matter what you trade. I just think that's the core to it. We can also see here that we've had a long period of buying. Yes, there's some flat tops there, but they're very low. They're not like these big square flat tops that we've had coming through here. We've had a series of them which have been much higher. Maybe not selling, but they've definitely been up in this area or up here. There's been very little buying in that after this buying section that we've had come through here in CocoPhillips. So look, it just shows you that over a short period of time you can get some good trades in this. This you probably would have held. It hadn't really sold hard into the close on Wednesday. So Tuesday was telling you maybe to knock it off anyway. No, that was at 14 o'clock. Yeah, no, it told you to buy into it. So if you're just revising on at the end of the day, I like end of the day trading rather than the start of the day. You probably can trade both, but it's really the data point is always the end of the day to have a look at. So I just think that that's a pretty good looking chart, a pretty tradable chart. So we'll just chuck a couple of those in to start our position on looking at cocoa and what it's been doing. Then let's have a look in COP and see what it's been doing. It looks like it'll be bumping around as well. So it's had some hedging down into this, which hasn't been taken off. So that's worth noting that hedging is still there. So even though we saw a bit of buying into the close, that's probably more to do with this than where it is sitting there. So it's pretty well hedged. This is showing a bit of buying into the close. It's had a strong accumulation through this period. I suppose it slowly looks like it's edging up. But you can see here that it's pretty negative and it's really being held down in a sideways position. And it is in a sideways position. So we'll just chuck that in as a starting place, because it just shows you that it's a bit of a nothing as a long-term stock to hold. It is a call and put selling position. So keep your position hedged, long shares, and then when you're hedging, you sell around those hedges and sell covered calls when you think you're at a top. Alright, I'll just detail that for our commodity, and that will be the end of the commodities for the day. So I just thought I'd start with the Mag 7 rather than looking at the indexes. The indexes look quite flat today, but I just wanted to see if we'd had any change to what was happening in the Mag 7. And we can see here we have had this well hedged period in Big Tech. And Big Tech is an amalgamation of the Mag 7. It's just my name for it, because it does change over time. We had it as fangs before, so I try and keep it together and let us look at what it's doing. We can see it, so it has bottomed out a little bit here. There's a little bit more hedging today, but there's a lot of new positions opening. So let's go and have a look through them individually. So quickly, just looking at the Apple's chart today, we did see a bit of a buying day. Yesterday. We did see that up today, but then really we've seen a selling day most of the day. Apart from into the close, it's a little bit of a buy. I don't know whether that buy is big enough to warrant talking about. So Apple's been selling off, but something else has been buying. So I would have thought that Apple is not going to have as much pushing it through the next period. This is the mags down here. Let's just have a look at what's in the back of the stock, and here we can see that quite a lot of the hedging has held, but we've lost a lot of the stock, and we've bought some out of the money, or we've had some out of the money opened. We have had quite a lot of the hedging come off that we did see appear, but of the sort of 14,000 odd that appeared when we bumped up the other day, we're still sitting at 12. The other thing that we can note is we've got very low DPI continuing. So I'm just going to record all of those things, and you can see that really the stock has stayed pretty heavy, and I would say that we're going to see a longer sideways movement after having that very good buy up. That might change at any time, but it is positioned in a holding pattern or almost short.